Hey guys, I want you to think about some of the cases that we've been talking about lately. Especially remember that live chat where we talked about all sorts of different cases? That was a pretty dynamic chat. We talked about the Manson murders. Oh my gosh, that was interesting because a lot of our subs know about that case, a lot of the details about that case that I wasn't aware of at all. But in this video, I want to focus on what is known as psychological abuse. And I want to talk about just a few of the cases that we've touched on recently. Take a look at the Betty Broderick case. Look at how her husband was cheating on her for so many years. And when she would accuse him of cheating on her, he would say, "Oh, you're crazy, Bets." He called her Bets instead of Betty. He told her she was losing it. He told her she was getting fat and she was getting ugly. And he told her she was crazy over and over again whenever she suspected that he was doinking his office girl. Did you know that she drove herself to the hospital because he was too busy networking in the bars? That's what she says. She had to drive herself to the hospital to have their baby, one of their 4 babies. Actually, she had 5. One of her babies died shortly after he was born. And she had many miscarriages too in between. Can you imagine driving yourself to the hospital because your husband's too busy networking with his pals? Just think about how she was psychologically abused for so many years. And then look at how the divorce went. She claims that he was able to divorce her without her even knowing it, and he was able to sell the house out from under her without her giving her permission. And then she claims also that he loaned the proceeds from the home sale out to one of his relatives, I think it was. And her total settlement amount was just $30,000. Wasn't he making 12 grand a week? You know they had more money than evidently what he claimed. Just imagine what that did to her psychologically. And then over and over again, she received documents in the mail from his lawyer calling her crazy. Take a look at the Drew Peterson case and think about his, I think, 3rd wife, Kathleen. He had a 17-year-old girlfriend, Stacy, who he brought into the marital home, and he was doinking her in the basement while his wife and his children slept upstairs. I wonder what he said to Kathleen when she accused him of having an affair. Think about the Scott Peterson case. There he was doinking his mistress and then leaving messages for his wife saying, "Hey, sweetheart, I don't have time to pick up the gift basket for Papa. I was hoping you could do that for me." Wow, what a jerk. And you know, another case that's interesting that I think a lot of people maybe felt that they couldn't really discuss at length because it was so brutal. And the killer was seemingly so off. That's the case of Jodi Arias. It's like everyone has to think in terms of black and white, good or bad, all or nothing. Jodi was all bad and her victim Travis was all good. But you know what? He wasn't all good. And I don't know why people refer to her as his ex-girlfriend when they spent the entire day doinking. Of course, none of these people deserve to be killed. That goes without saying, or it should anyway. But in each and every case, it seems that there was psychological abuse going on. Travis was no angel. And look at how he jerked her around, telling all of his friends that she was stalking him while he had her in his bed. What, for an entire day? He told his friends that she was slashing his tires. Really? Did he ever call the police and make a report? Did they ever investigate it? Or did he just tell his friends that his tires were slashed? Betty Broderick lost it, that's for sure. But I think something that people forget is she did not intend on killing her husband. She intended on killing herself because she couldn't take it anymore. Drew Peterson's wife, she begged for help and nobody would help her. She even wrote a letter to the Attorney General's office saying that she was in danger and nobody was helping her. And then she ended up dead. Scott Peterson's wife probably had no clue that her life was in danger. But if you look at the way he treated her, I don't know. Maybe the clues were actually there. And the case of Jodi Arias, she had no right to do what she did. Of course she had no right to do what she did. But her victim had no right to use her and to abuse her the way he did. He used his position in the church to con her and to manipulate her. Now remember back to the case of Jeffrey MacDonald. Did you know that his wife did not want him to join the army? She was marrying a doctor. She was from an upper middle class home. But when he wanted to join the army, she smiled and went along with his idea. And then he was telling her some kind of bunco that he was supposed to travel overseas to train people. And it turned out after the murders, evidently according, I think, to her father, that that was all a lie. And it turned out that he was actually having one affair after another during his marriage. Psychological abuse is real. And people who have been both psychologically abused and physically abused will often say that the physical abuse was actually easier to handle. The psychological abuse is very hard to identify. But once you're able to see what's happening, then you can hopefully get some help and learn how to safely escape your abuser. They may still try to harm you. They may still lie about you. They may still try to financially abuse you or try to frighten you by harming one of your children or threaten to harm your children. They may have convinced you through the years, like Betty, Broderick's husband, convinced her that she was old and fat and ugly. But the sooner you're able to safely escape a psychologically abusive relationship, then the sooner you can begin to gain your self-respect again. Jodi Arias needed help. She needed somebody in her life to step forward and to say, Jodi, get counseling now, because the way you are allowing him to treat you is not okay. Drew Peterson's wife needed help. She was begging for help, and nobody would help her. And you know what? His fourth wife, that 17-year-old girl that he was doinking in the basement, she needed help too. She needed some counseling to figure out why on earth she was attracted to him in the first place, and why she stayed with him once she figured out that he had murdered his third wife. Lacey Peterson, I don't know, of all of these women in these different cases, I think Lacey was probably the one who had the fewest clues possible that she was married to a monster. But I can't help but think that the clues were there just the same. Jeffrey MacDonald, his wife, went along with whatever he wanted, even when he didn't come home at night. If you are in a relationship where the person that you're in love with is psychologically abusing you, please get the help that you need. Get some counseling. Make a safe escape plan so that you and your children can be safe. Whether you're male or female, you could be a victim of psychological abuse. Your children deserve to be safe in their own home, and you deserve to be safe in your own home. And if there's psychological abuse going on, then you and your children are not safe. Please get the help you need.